Okay, here is my sample question for question 2. How does the writer describe Mr. Wolf to give his view, that's Mr. Wolf's view, of the three little pigs? So this is a typical question 2. It asks you to look at some description and it asks you to think about the viewpoint of the character. Well, how are you going to answer that? What I've done here is I've taken the 2018 mark scheme, which your teacher can give you, I can't, and I've rewritten it. So it's exactly the same as structure, the same kind of detail, the same sentences as the examiners, except I've written about something completely different, Mr. Wolf and the Three Little Pigs. So I'm going to take you through this so you can see the detail that you need to put in to get the top marks. The writer uses the verb huff to suggest that Mr. Wolf is like a cruel father, fed up with his son's stupidity. He thinks the pigs are idiots as they build a house of straw like a haystack, metaphorically conveying that not only are the pigs stupid, they also deserve to be eaten because they were lazy, so that he feels justified in destroying their homes. The writer personifies Mr. Wolf as ruthless and bored to imply that Mr. Wolf has met similarly stupid pigs many times before. Not only should we sympathise with him, but we should be rooting for him to barbecue the first two pigs. So the first thing you can see is the level of detail. The other thing that you'll notice, I hope, is that the quotations are short. That is a single word one, and that one is only 3 words long. This skill of embedding quotations is crucial to question 2. Right, now, let me show you the subject terminology. So many students think that subject terminology has to be something special. There are some special things in here, for example, like metaphorically and personifies, but those are not the only things that make for subject terminology. Really, subject terminology is any language you have to use in order to explain things in literature. And that's why even the word also and because is subject terminology, because it helps you explain. Similarly, suggests and imply are subject terminology because they help you explain an idea. Sympathise is subject terminology because you will always have to write about characters being sympathetic or not. It's a word that you can always use when you're writing about character. There is something really annoying in the examiner's work here, and this is the word verb. You know, the examiners keep going on about using verb, adverb, noun, adjective when you're finding things. This is idiotic, okay? And it's so idiotic that when the examiner writes about the literature paper, they get really upset that students are calling things verbs, nouns, adjectives and nouns. They say it doesn't add anything to the analysis, it's stupid. And then the same examiners, when they look at the English language exam, put that in. So I'm giving you permission here not to identify it as a verb or a noun or an adjective, but your teachers are probably doing what the mark scheme does and putting that in as I've done it there. Now, the next most important thing I need to teach you is huge, and it is related to my video, which is kill P. P paragraphs, point, evidence, explanation, really slow you down in the exam. Let me show you that answer again. Here, I've taken each section of the answer and put it into a different bullet point to show you what's going on with point, evidence and explanation. The writer uses the verb huff, there's my evidence, to suggest that Mr. Wolf is like a cruel father, there's my explanation, fed up with his son's stupidity, there's my point. Now, this comes from the examiner's answer. That is a whole P paragraph written as a sentence, and it's not in the order of P, because the minute you start integrating your quotation, you don't need to put your point with it, you put your explanation with it. This is a much more powerful way of writing because it gets straight into scoring marks. Your explanation comes immediately and you're zooming in on individual words, which I will show you the examiners love. Writing in P paragraphs stops you doing that. You take a lot longer to write this, you'd write it in 2 or 3 sentences. Why does that matter? Because it's an exam and you have very limited time to make your points. So writing in P paragraphs will slow you down. Let's look at the next one. He thinks the pigs are idiotic, that's my point, as they build a house of straw like a haystack. That's my evidence, my quotation. Metaphorically conveying that not only are the pigs stupid, that's my first explanation, they also deserve to be eaten because they were lazy. That's my second explanation. And that's done within one sentence. In fact, that sentence isn't even finished until here. So again, writing in a P paragraph will really slow you down if you can write it in one sentence. Let's look at the next bit. So that he feels justified in destroying their homes. That is a third explanation. Now, writing that in a P paragraph would be probably 5 different sentences because you've got 3 explanations, a point and an example of evidence. That's huge. Whereas you can do it much more quickly if you put all of P in your sentence. Let's look at the next sentence. The writer personifies Mr. Wolf as ruthless and bored. So that's the point, but the point also includes the evidence here, the quotation, to imply that Mr. Wolf has met similarly stupid pigs many times before. That's my P paragraph done in a sentence. But again, the sentence isn't over. We have 2 more explanations. Not only should we sympathise with him, but we should be rooting for him to barbecue the first 2 pigs. 2 more explanations. So, hopefully you can see why writing in P paragraphs is really going to slow you down. And what you really need are P sentences. And remember, the order of P doesn't have to stay the same. As long as you've got those 3 things in your sentence, you will gain the marks. Right, let's look at how students lost marks in this question, apart from not writing enough points because they were writing in P paragraphs. So students get marks for their detailed analysis. Hopefully you could see why those sentences would be detailed, and not for spotting lots of features. You know, I didn't go around spotting lots of similes and lots of metaphors. It's about going into detail about the ones you do find. Over 60% of students got 4 marks or lower out of 8. So this was a question that was done pretty badly. Most students didn't get above half marks. So what else are they doing wrong? Well, the other thing is choosing really long quotations rather than zooming in on words. So I've shown you how to zoom in. Then not writing about the effect on the reader's thinking. Well, let's pause a minute and go back and see where I've done that. Okay, well, in yellow and green are each of the explanations again. You can see how many there are. And every explanation is your way of saying to the examiner, this is how it affects the reader's thinking. And then finally, in my last 2 lines, I've been much more explicit here. And remember, I've taken this from what the examiners have written. So the examiners have been more explicit by including the word we. Because when I say we, I automatically mean all of us as readers. So that's an easy way to make sure that you're getting the top marks, using we to tell the examiner you're writing about the effect on the readers. And the other way is the one that I've demonstrated to you with the colours, having many explanations. It's the explanations which give you detail, and it's the detail which give you the marks. So that was the effect on the reader's thinking. The other thing that students often do is using general phrases like it paints a picture in the reader's heads, which is true, it does paint a picture in the reader's heads, but so does everything else. Therefore, it gets you 0 marks. So the key here is never be general, always be specific. And it's easy to be specific by giving more than one explanation, and it's easy to be specific when you zoom in on short quotations. That will stop you being general in your answer. And then there's one final thing which is really difficult to get right. Often a student will quote a word, but they'll treat it literally rather than looking at the rest of the context. And there are loads and loads of examples of this in any text you look at. I've invented one here. So imagine in my text it said, Mr. Wolf exploded with anger. Some readers would just look at the word exploded and say, oh God, it's like a cartoon. It's literally blown up. But of course it doesn't mean he'd blown up. The context of exploded with anger means that he just became very, very angry. He was enraged. Now, you will probably spot that, but you need to be on the lookout for this kind of misconception in the exam as a whole. Okay, well, this is our last slide to consider. Why is it so important for you to get these marks on question 2? And it's because the exam is getting harder. And the worrying thing about this is it doesn't mean that students are getting better at English, but it does mean they're getting better at taking the exam. In other words, you're up against a kind of an arm race where students are learning the tactics of each question better. And what you can see here is this was the first exam. You can see the amount of marks you needed for each grade. So you only needed 72 to get a grade 4, and you only needed 123 to get a grade 9. Well, now it's gone up. 128 to get a grade 9 and 76 to get a grade 4. And even more worryingly, if we look at the November retakes, it's even harder. So if you're doing a November retake, what happened last year was students had obviously prepared really well for the retake, and that meant they scored even better than in June, but the exam boards aren't allowed to give out as many grade 4s and 5s and 6s and so on, and therefore it became harder and harder to get the result. So if you drop a mark here or there, it now becomes much more important to make it up. Study my videos, work out what tactics you need for the exam so that you can get a higher mark, even though, and I regret this passionately as an English teacher, some of the techniques I'm teaching you are not necessarily English skills. They are exam skills which will help you improve. Well, thank you very much, and see you soon on my channel.